Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Wee Jem Show on a Thursday, and it's 14:40. We plan to be on air at 14:30, but life just goes on. We've got a guest in the studio today. It's musician and author Lewis Cuthbert. Hello, Lewis.
Hi there, glad to be here
How are you
on a
doing
sunny
today,
day.
Lewis? It's a sunny
I'm
day
doing
today.
great. It's nice and sunny, and many reasons to be positive in this weather.
I'm a bit jealous of your plant because I've got this grand piano in the background, but I just want a plant.
We can do a swap.
Okay, here's the grand piano.
I'll take the grand piano. I'm not sure how long before I'd sell it and just get a wee keyboard. But
Okay, Lutz, you're a musician and author, and what we're trying to do on my show is actually speak to sovereign Scots of all ages and all cultures and all sorts. So I'm really glad to have you on here to represent
Gen
the,
Z, Gen Z
the new
representation.
generation that's going to take over and take Scotland into thriving through independence. So tell me, do you want to talk about your musician or your author?
Well, they do call it Zoomers, so hopefully we can zoom us into a better path than we seem to be going
Zoomers.
down
Okay.
Yeah, so I've got a background being a support practitioner in mental health, and the organisation I was working for would work, and it's ended up given a referral from a psychiatrist or a CPN, and then for 12 weeks we'd work out a plan, just me and the other person, as to some way to make the life better by the time it was over. So we'd be given a few recommendations, but for the most part we had the freedom to kind of get a bit creative with it and work out just what would be best for them, And through that and exploring sort of the spiritual topics and science at the same time, did I decide to write a book about trying to connect spirituality to science in a way where it doesn't sound like they contradict each other, and the whole, with a major focus on mental health as well.
They don't contradict each other at all. And I think I prefer, and we talked about this before yourself as well, is the term emotional wellness. And not only emotional, but body, mind, and spirit wellness, as opposed to putting people in boxes and calling it mental health,
Yeah, and there's a big problem with the boxes in which we put people in, I think, in terms of well, if someone's diagnosed as chronically depressed, it kind of sounds like a label that tells them that they can't get themselves out of it, or with help they wouldn't be able to get themselves better.
It points a finger at them, I think, and it's quite dehumanizing and really kind of demoralizing. It's not empowering at all. It's like, you've got this. It's your fault.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I once knew someone that had mental health problems and also had Asperger's, and the way that they seemed to conceptualize their own mind was as if their mental health or their mind consisted of two sides of a coin, one of their Asperger's and one of their mental health, in a way that seemed so negative, as if there was no sort of positive part to the idea of their own sort of sense of self. And
The sense of self-worth, maybe.
yeah, and a feeling that all the categories of their mind were just that of negative ones, limiting ones, as if there was no way for them to improve themselves in a way that they could feel more fulfillment, as well-being is all about, isn't it?
Isn't it that we grow up in a very limiting society, and never mind being colonized, but just the way you are born into a certain place in a country and a certain community and a certain religion and all of these things, and the whole time you're at school, you're taught not to think, to shut up and listen and obey. And then suddenly it's like, what do you want to do with your life? And it's like, well, what do I want to do with my life? And everything is always like, you're doing this wrong, do it my way. And then people don't actually, they criticize so much that they tend to have this internal critic.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you were making me
I'm
think
just gonna
straight
put
away.
it.
Oh, your mic's gone a bit funny.
Lewis, just carry on speaking, okay?
Right. Okay. Yeah, it kind of reminds me of Pink Floyd's song "Another Brick in the Wall." Poems, everybody. How can you have your pudding if you don't have your meat? Follow the rules and stay in line. A part of a book, I joke about the UK specifically, as if we invented like the normal queuing methods, but we also invented the bar queuing method. And then at the same time, we invented the idea of tall poppy syndrome. The idea that if you stand out, you're the one that's going to get his head cut off. So it's kind of like we created a 3D prism of not being able to challenge the system and not being able to reach a higher level of community well-being and a society. A society that promotes healthy, positive thoughts.
Isn't it also that people, like one of the things in life is actually that feeling of being able to feel joy and happiness, and that's okay, I'm going to bring the colonial system into this. I think that most people are actually suffering from colonial trauma, and they put in these boxes, but are we not a bit like lab rats in a cage, and they're experimenting on us and then labeling you with, oh, you've got this, and it's your fault. Whereas other indigenous cultures like Native American Indians and Aborigines and many cultures, including Scots, because they're originally indigenous race. Most Scottish people have got Pictish DNA, are susceptible because of colonial trauma to things like alcoholism, and drugs and all this, which is provided by the colonial regime. Never mind, they make you pay for your own addiction. So it's like you're gaslighted all the time, and the stuff is freely available in your face, and then they're blaming people. Oh, you guys are a bunch of like drug addicts and alcoholics, Scots. What do you think of that?
Well, I think the comparison to rats in a cage is a great one. The original war on drugs in America started from a study where they put rats in cages by themselves, just little kind of blocks, and then gave them the access to sugar water or heroin water. And they found that all the rats eventually just consumed as much heroin water until they died from it. And then from that, they came to the conclusion it was like 8 times more addictive. And as a result, that they started the American drug war, which doesn't seem to have worked for the most part, for sure. But funnily enough, I think it was about maybe 10, 15 years later, another scientist did an experiment using sugar water and heroin water, but he called it Rat Park. And instead of the rats being in little bubbles, little cages with nothing to do, no reason for
they were in
any
a social housing
happiness to be. Yeah, basically. But in his study, did the rats stay in a park? He created like a wee mini one where there was toys for them to play with. There was other rats for them to mingle and procreate.
How generous of them.
And as a result, did they find that even though some of the rats dabbled, or maybe they all did, in the heroin water, that eventually they actually all switched to the sugar water because they had fulfillment in their lives. And they had.
Isn't sugar like also a drug though? Like in our natural diet, we wouldn't have had so much sugar. And the fact that all of these capitalists put sugar in everything, it's also a drug, It's all about getting money out of everybody. So whatever product is like, sugar's a drug as well. It's an addiction.
Yeah, and then you've got the worries of what they put in instead of sugar, all these sort of fancy names that people don't even have a clue what they mean. I suppose you've got aspartame as well, which has been linked to a lot of negative health outcomes.
How did our ancestors live? They lived in communities where they had levels of society. They had the elders, they had the middle-aged people, the teenagers, the youngsters, and they had a thing where they all lived together. So the parents didn't take the sole burden of bringing up children. The children weren't stuck with their parents, so they got the guidance of older people and younger people and aunties and uncles. Whereas in a social housing system, although like obviously it's great that we've got social benefits, but
sure,
you can actually have your granny come and stay with you. She goes into an old age home, so she gets lonely. The kids don't have that contact of daily, wisdom from their granny. And you when your child leaves home, they can't just come back because you have to pay bedroom tax, so you get moved into a smaller house. And everything goes against everything of how our ancestors lived, including growing your own food. So we stuck with buying fish from the shop, and that's my favorite word, by the way.
What's your favorite word? Sorry,
Fish. It's my word
fish.
for the we get independence. Everything's fish. Not everything, but like
It's a good one to use in the air instead of other words. Eh?
yeah, because I started swearing really badly during lockdown, and I'm trying not to swear on air, so I just say fish.
Well, I would say that's a fair excuse to start swearing more if we were treated during lockdown.
So I totally forgot what I was talking about because I think I'm getting dementia because I'm an old lady now. You know, it's difficult being over
Well,
1,000 years old.
talking about community living, and that's definitely something in the book I'll be trying
Yeah,
to.
it's about growing your own food as well. So we are like stuck with all these shops that making a profit of us, literally tons of bloody packaging, you know, plastic, disposable plastic, and there's all these additives and colorants and what's that other fish you get?
Well, I was following
Preservatives, and it's all
I, wa-
bad for us.
I was following plasticides or phthalates as they call them, microplastics, which we can't really avoid because they seem to be in all food packages at every level. They found that since the 1970s, I think it is, yeah, for the last 50 years, because of the microplastics that we're consuming, like our body can't process them, and they tend to, I think they tend to get sort of stuck in the sort of fertility regions of our body, and
Oh,
as a
they do,
result,
isn't it? It's like they're finding that the sea's actually becoming a sea of plastic, and the fish have got plastic in them. So we're eating the fish, and it's just becoming like plastic soup, you know. Not very
you
good for
know,
us.
it's shocking. I love just eating tuna out the tin sometimes. But I got told the other day you're only supposed to have one tin a day because of the mercury that we've got in the ocean.
Well, that's like I lived on the Outer Hebrides for 8 years, and there's quite a high incidence because I was a carer looking after people with dementia and also like people with Asperger's and autism and Down syndrome and all of this, you know. And it's such a high incidence of like as soon as people, well, some people going over 50, they were getting dementia, but full rapid onset dementia. And they now have to live for the next, like, whatever, 30, 40 years of their lives. And they've got no, they totally full on dementia. And they figured out, like, sometimes it's coming from aluminium cookware, from
Right.
artificial sweeteners, from the heavy metals in the fish. You know, they recommend people don't eat things like prawns and bottom feeders. Refrain from cannibalism. That's a good one, you know.
Yeah, that sounds like a good one. Yeah, what was I going to say? Well, it definitely sounds like it's a multi-factor problem, eh? Coming
It
from
is, and
different
corn
ends.
syrup is also very bad. They're putting corn syrup in everything. So what it's doing is actually destroying the palm syrup. I think palm syrup. They're destroying the habitat of the orangutans, but it also causes what's it called? Diabetes, rapid onset diabetes. So we are filled, and all of these things take account of our health. You know, you think about our water system. We've got like fluoride in the water, which is a lie that it's good for your teeth. Basically, it's to
And
subdue the masses.
and there's worries that it may have an effect on the pineal gland as well, which is the only part of
Pituitary
your brain
gland,
which isn't mirrored on both
your
sides.
pituitary gland.
Is that how you know it to be called? Is that how the
Yeah,
shamans call it? So,
yeah.
but
You're
when
just
it comes to the
explosive.
microphthalates, it's 1% drop every year for the past 50 global now of sperm count rates. So you give it another 50 years, it might be everyone's
Well,
have to have their kids in labs.
you talk about this, you know, it's quite out in the open actually that a lot of the vaccines, a lot of doctors are exposing this, is that it's made even teenagers and all this infertile. And we might have an extreme drop in the population rate, which is obviously what the elite's always about. They want us as slaves, but they also don't want too many of us, you know.
Yeah,
So
and it seems to be lowering testosterone levels as well. I think I seen a statistic. It was the average man in
Yeah,
his
so
60s in America
everything that
has
we
more
are having,
testosterone than the 18-year-old, which is
everything that we're
shocking.
having is messing up us, and that all goes on to sorry, I saw wet marks and my memory is totally erased. That goes on to something or other. Sorry, the wet wipe just did it for me. My brain's gone.
Sorry. Have you had your Weetabix this morning?
No, I was busy eating my breakfast cereal when I was on the Caledon radio thing, and it went down my windpipe, and I was like, "Ah!"
It was a good show. I enjoyed listening to parts of
Did
it for
you?
sure. Yeah, especially the talk on AI and what we're talking about, how much we're poisoning our food and applications of it, and AI and the road it's going. They were big motivators towards me writing my book for sure. Because
Wow, yeah, that's something
I've
else.
once helped someone and they had an AI girlfriend that would send them poems about how much they loved them and stuff like that.
Oh, there's AI boyfriends and girlfriends, and what it does is it actually makes people locked in, and they can communicate with people because the AI boyfriend or girlfriend is so nice to them that nobody can compete with that.
Maybe they might tinker in the future so it starts giving them in trouble if they stay in the pub too long and don't come home.
Get your ass home. Stop talking to that social media AI. You know, you devoted to me. You know,
Yeah.
yeah. So all of these things have an effect on our health and obviously our emotional wellness. And I nearly put the wet wipes one on again. So there's ways to deal with these things, but like I think what people should do, and I feel the system's a bit broken in that it literally puts blame on people to say like you've got shitty mental health and like fix yourself up, you know. And people also said that to their friends and their family, like get your act together, you know, pull yourself together. Um, you need help, as if it's an insult, but that help is not really forthcoming because you can go to the doctor and get antidepressants and they make people feel like unaliving themselves. And, you
And
know,
from my understanding, the antidepressants for
nobody
the
wants to
majority
be
of them
drugged
were
up.
only ever designed to be that of a short-term crutch until you could get your life together. Or if you went through a particularly traumatizing experience, then something just to give you a bit of a crutch to get you through it till you could manage on your own. But it seems how much cheaper it is to just chuck drugs at people compared to give them talking therapy and other methods to lift
Well,
themselves
maybe
up.
it's involving everything to see like there's a drug problem in most countries in the world, okay, and it comes from the colonial era because even like the colonial regime, as I call it, like I don't like to mention countries and things. They literally they annexed part of China because China was a huge opium producer and used it to literally establish their foothold in the opium trade. And that's why we've got this poppy day, and it's such a hypocrisy because they gave the soldiers like handfuls of seeds and all this. That was their only pain relief. So there's poppies growing everywhere, and now we have this poppy day, but it's actually showing that terrible neglect of these soldiers. You know, it's disrespectful. I don't agree with Poppy Day at all because all of our families got like drafted into wars that had nothing to do with us. And then it's like kind of glorified, but they were sent in there as cannon fodder, you know? And then
Yeah.
they have mockery of, oh, we're going to remember our veterans. But even in this day and age, the veterans go straight into like basically being homeless and then left with this gift that keeps giving, you know, post traumatic stress. And they don't actually get much help at all.
It's an interesting opinion. I've never heard anyone sort of talk against property, but I suppose I
Well,
hope with
that's
events
me.
like that we can choose ourselves what meaning they have. You know, just as you hear the words being reclaimed in a sense. You know,
You'll find with me, I always say the unthinkable and the unspeakable. But the thing is, my dad actually,
it's that because
he
you're
was,
already sorted. You've got a grand piano in the back. Yes, say what you want. I'm going to take that away from you.
It's just a picture. Somebody said, "Then you've got such a nice grand piano." I was like, "No, it's a picture." It's to disguise that are actually living in poverty, you know. Basically, my dad was in the clearances and in South Africa, and when the Second World War come along, all of his cousins and his brother and everything went to war, and he was only 15 years old, so he forged his birth certificate and enlisted to go sent up to Egypt and all these places, and he was in the Second World War. So I got to hear about this all firsthand, you know. And my dad told me, you know, like there's nothing romantic about war. And he told me how this all happens. And I've heard from other people who's got family, you know, that was in the Second World War that survived. And it was a disgusting scenario. We know Scots were used as cannon fodder, you know. And I think there's something about Churchill and the 51st Regiment or something. And none of it's nice. So I just feel that this whole thing is, and probably many people will disagree with me, they always do, but that doesn't mean I'm wrong.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. Sort of, in a way, brings me back to thinking about like the Stanford prison experiment. Like for me, when I
Tell me about that.
Well, when I talk about sociology, I kind of, for the most part, I just focus on two, two sociological kind of experiments, I suppose, or one of them's more of a thought experiment. Have you heard of the Stanford prison experiment before?
I don't think I have. Will you tell me about it?
Right. So they basically got a bunch of random people from all sort of ages of being an adult, of background, and then they chucked them in a prison and got half them to pretend to be prison guards, and then the other half to pretend to be inmates. And only a few days into the experiment did they have to end it because of how much they were brutalizing each other and attacking each other to degrees in which, when they were interviewed afterwards, they ended up developing PTSD, the people in the study, because they didn't realize they had it in them to how much they
Remember,
could.
you can't swear on the show, you know.
Did I swear?
No, but I could see you were struggling not to. I can read the signs.
Thank you. And if we don't find some way for us to see each other, we're all one big family in a sense.
And we're all equal. And isn't this the problem in society in general?
All they had to do was say that you're an inmate,
layers.
and you're an inmate, and you're a prison guard, and wear a different outfit, and all of a sudden, 2 days in, they're developing PTSD when they were just normal people from all backgrounds, and that needs to be solved before I think we can really get anywhere of benefit, you know.
I always have a problem with the term normal. Like, I tried to be normal once, and it was the worst 5 minutes of my life.
I agree. I like to say weird and wonderful were always close together and synonymous. But fear was always synonymous with normal. It's as
Absolutely.
if some people, as soon as they leave their front door, they're in such a hurry to get to either their earphones or their phone in time before they realise that they walk a little bit different to everyone else. But that's all you would want. You'd want everyone to have their own little walk. You wouldn't want everyone walking around like zombies.
We're all unique,
soldiers, colonial soldiers.
Some of these people, whatever they are, that forms this alleged elite and whatever, you know, they got their ideas from animals, but they've ignored many other behavior patterns of animals. They got the colonization from like ants and all this, but they ignored all the other methods of, you know, whether you've got packs of wolves or prides of lions that have got very amazing, you know, social standings with each other, and they went straight to the hen pecking, you know, you're in the bottom of the level, you know, like stay there, you can never rise from that, you know. And I've got somebody who's got a comment, and it's going to come into what we're going to talk about in emotional wellness, and I like to call it body, mind, and soul. Maybe that's just because I'm an airy fairy kind of hippie person. But David Johnson, he said, you do people no favors if you never talk about solutions, never suggest solutions. Okay. Well, David, you've got a very good point there. Sorry. You've got a very good point, David. And what we are going to do is actually suggest solutions. But basically, we're just chatting about how the system is set out and that it doesn't actually specifically help people, and it puts it suppresses people to make them think that they've got something wrong with them, when in fact it's often colonial trauma or trauma from your childhood. And all those people are behaving badly. People get abused by even members of their family or anything. It's generations of colonial trauma, and other things. So I'm going to let Lewis speak.
Well, when it comes to that Stanford prison experiment, the sort of solution I try and get, or word it in a way that we can all try and see each other more as if we were all family, is that we were all just one cell that multiplied from 1 to 2 until it was complex enough to make me and you. And we were
Like
all just
amoebas. Isn't that
Yeah.
amoebas? They split into half and then they split and split and split.
I think they do. I think starfish might do something like that as well. But we were all just one biological cell that did that, and also we were all just babies at one point that looked up at our mothers and asked for love, and whether we got that back or not, we were able to be given it. The effects on that for the rest of their lives. To a certain extent, you can't blame them for who
Isn't it that we have to humanize people, because people are we souls trapped in a human body, right? And nobody got any qualifications to become parents or to become adults, or I think I'd rather not be an adult, actually. When I was a teenager, I just wanted to be an adult. Then I became an adult and had to pay bills and all this fish. And I was like, no, I just want to be a teenager forever. So in my mind, I'm a teenager, and I still don't open my mail, and I still do outrageous things and dress like a freak. My daughter told me, can't you just grow up, Mom? But the point is, like, we don't have qualifications. So whether or not our parents were good or not, it depends on whether their parents were good or not. And it's so complicated that can't we just start humanizing each other? It's a
That's the worry of the labels, isn't it? That the labels just put people in boxes. That's how that person behaves and operates, and that's the reason for it. When
I think
so
it's
many factors as to why we act the way we do. And
I tried to be such a good mom, and I wasn't strict with my kids in the normal sense. They had loads of horses, and they did all sorts of things and won loads of trophies, and I never pushed them to do it. It was just like, if you want to do it, you can do it. I'll support you. Do anything you want to. And then they told me I was the worst mother in the world, and they hate me. So I was like, well, my mom used to beat me to hell and tell me she didn't want me and she wished she had an abortion. So I kind of thought I was a nice mom, but they think I was right. So, it's all about personal. You can get some people, even in America, the kids sue the parents and ask for a divorce from their parents legally. And it's like, none of our parents actually knew what the hell to do. It's just like, if you have kids, you won't know what to do either.
Yeah, I hear you. And I guess it also highlights the role of perspective as to what you're comparing your childhood compared to others. And it sounds like from your generation, from what I've heard, you said you were even getting beaten by the teachers and that sort of stuff, weren't you?
Oh, we did. We used to get corporal punishment from the teachers, from our parents, from other people's parents. We drank from hose pipes. We never wore helmets on motorbikes. We stood in the back of pickup trucks, and like everything that nowadays you can't do for health and safety. But look at us, we're still alive. And
yeah, health and safety. Sometimes it seems like it's gone so far. I remember at school when we went to what was called first year camp, where you went out in the country, in the sort of woods area, and did different outdoorsy stuff like abseiling and that sort of stuff. But they used to have a little fire pit at night where they'd all sit around and cook marshmallows. That got taken away for health and safety. There was a
marshmallows? No, not the marshmallows.
Yeah, they took away the marshmallows. Yeah, and then
Well,
they used
I
to
know
have a little rope swing and a stream that they would pass. That got all concreted up, and then they had
all
like a
those
big
things are
witch's
good
hat.
for
Roundabout, they
emotional
got rid
wellness.
of that too. Yeah,
All
exactly.
those things you mentioned are good for emotional wellness. And it's like getting off these games where you can play games, that's grand, but if you're doing it 72 hours a week or even more than that, and you're killing people all the time, when you go out the door, you're going to be like, have road rage and want to better people, and you wonder why in pubs people have a few drinks and they get in a fight. Isn't every movie on the BBC bloody about psychopaths and serial killers and weird pish? So what are people getting fed?
Well, women seem to love that stuff, though, for sure. It's studying a
No,
degree in
I
psychology.
don't. So are you trying to
Most
say
of the
that I'm
women
not
on
a
my
woman?
course. I'm using
Because
averages
I
here.
can prove that I am.
We'll save that till off camera, Jim.
No, you're totally right, Lewis. And I think it's very much understanding the whole scenario and then moving on to that. How do we humanize ourselves? Because it comes with self-respect and self-discipline and self-learning, because you can't really help somebody until they want to be helped. You can try, but they're just going to be abusive towards you until you can actually, they can say themselves, look, I realize I've got these issues. And there's all sorts of things like shadow work. And basically these days people can go onto the internet and go and Google whatever they think that they have. And most of these diagnoses for mental
it's
health,
never been easier to find new ways of living that could improve yourself, And
you can give yourself every kind of melody under the world. And I can't tell one day, like doctors' offices, do they not have like a little spinning top in this funny little thing? Oh, you've got bipolar, you've got whatever, and all the symptoms are the same for all of them, these are just names.
I'm just imagining, did you ever have one of those things as a kid? It's like the paper you fold up and it's like, pick a colour.
Yes.
And then you pick a number. You have bipolar.
Oh, we should make one of those. I might do that about. She's going to be the next guest on my show. So what you used to do, in case nobody knows, you used to get a piece of A4 paper, right? And you fold it in half. And then you fold it in half again. And what were they called, Lewis?
Oh, I'm not sure. I've never even learned to make one, so this is a learning experience for me as well.
Okay, I'm going to leave this to you because I'm so old that I actually think I got it wrong. I thought I still had it in my head how to make it, and I don't. So
you can make one up with questions for your guests on each of them. Like just at the end, you could do the little game and see what
it
comes
could
up.
be really useful for making decisions, because I think everybody hates making decisions. Most people do. So you could go like, should I go to the pub? Should I eat supper? Should I study? Should I go have a bath? Or should I stay up all night and be totally outrageous? And you wouldn't have to make the decision. So then you don't have to blame anyone except for the piece of paper.
It reminds me when I've tried to help people that are depressed, because a lot of them, their only solutions are either the things that they do in their life, they try and do one or more of them more often. But it was the fact that they had themselves so limited as to the different ways in which they engage with this world that I deem to be one of the biggest parts of the problem. But I like to think about, that saying, when one door closes, another one opens. I don't like that saying. I think it should be changed to, when one door closes, a corridor opens. And there's some doors you can kind of guesstimate where they would take you, like maybe joining a new tennis club or volunteering or something like that. And then at other doors, your heart might call you to go through. But I think the biggest sort of shame and regret would be if you stayed in the corridor and didn't decide to do anything new, until you eventually might develop agoraphobia.
Well, so many people have got agoraphobia, and I think we all felt it after lockdown. We didn't actually want to go outside so much anymore. And we didn't want to really speak to people. I saw everybody walking around the streets, like not looking at each other. And I would like see somebody who looks sad just because I'm empathic and I've got my healing training and shamanic training. And I'd go like, are you feeling okay? And they would like, I just need a hug. And I say, here's a hug. And they're like, other people be like, you can't do that. We're in lockdown. I was like, well, you know what? You can go do. Of course, I'm going to give people hugs because people need contact. Even chimpanzees in the zoo. There was, I think it was Robin Williams. He forged this wonderful friendship with this chimpanzee. And the chimpanzee learned sign language and all this, and he used to tell Robin Williams that it loved him. I think it was called, can't remember what the chimpanzee was called, but it was beautiful. And even like animals, you see somebody's got a dog and the dog gets treated like fish, and it's always like go to your corner and all this. That dog suffers from depression.
Yeah, no, I spent, I think it was 2 weeks, just kind of trying to live my Buddhist practices of like a few handfuls of rice or the equivalent of food and water, and just walking about, trying to partially detox from being part of the computer screen generation. And it was amazing how much you noticed that other people were missing just from being on their phones and never being in a position like you are.
Yeah,
With
they
your
become
empathetic
vacant, almost
trait.
like locked in, disassociated. Can I just bring your attention to the joke on the screen?
Right.
Mummy, why is my little brother running around in circles? Shut up, I'll nail his other foot to the floor.
I'll give you a joke. How many therapists does it take to change the light bulb? One, but the light bulb has to really want to change.
Oh, okay, yeah. And isn't that important let's talk about coping mechanisms, okay? So you don't have to really necessarily, okay, this is your personal choice. And of course, discuss it with your doctor because he's got your best interest, which I don't believe he does have. Humor is a coping mechanism. And it's finding balance, I think. I don't know about you, Lewis, but it's having a little bit of everything and just doing it in balance and following your intuition. What do you think about that?
For sure. I had a thought there. Kind of fell away a little bit there. But yeah, balance. I think so. I think the Scotch was just not, well, at least you more so, but not too used to this heat. Must be getting to my head. But, yeah, and I think there's a big fault in the West to a lot of people engage in meditation as well, to help find that balance between what they think they should be doing or spending time to just ruminate on the thoughts and feelings that are going through their mind at that time.
It's fine to do nothing sometimes, and that's part of healing. And being out in nature and watching the sunrises and sunsets, because those changing colors actually stimulate serotonin, which allows you to feel happiness and joy. And do you want to mention what they are trying to do to our skies, Lewis?
Well, the Labour Party have commissioned a series of experiments so they can dim the sun in the UK by releasing dust particles into the atmosphere. Now, these are experiments, so at the start, who knows what impact that could actually have? Might end up with more people walking about.
Well, first of all, we hardly have any gorgeous days anyway, so if they dim the sunlight, we are really rats in a cage, are we not?
And if they're worried about everyone emigrating that has the money, I think that would be the nail in the coffin, I think, for a lot of people.
Yeah. So, Hesbury Stumble says, Coco was Robin Williams' friend. He was a gorilla. I think there was a female one as well. I think it was a chimpanzee. But when Robin Williams passed away, they went to tell her, and she actually signed language that she loved him and she really missed him, and she went away and she was really sad. And just that we're not that different from animals. And they've implemented this colonialism, like I said, about how ants are and all this, but there's no ants standing with whips whipping the other ants. They do this because it's part of their nature and their design. So we can learn many things from different animals. I remember when I was working in business in my younger years, they had a team building weekend and they used lions as an example, saying we're a team. And the way the lion works is there's an alpha male and an alpha female, and the alpha female is always right, and human beings are like that as well. A man's place is in the wrong, and they say, like, if a tree falls in a forest and you don't hear it, does it still make a noise? So if a man is in a forest and he does something wrong,
I hate that question so much, because when you're trying to write a book about philosophy, people say that one to you all the time as if that's all it entails.
Well, there's another one, and it says if a man does something wrong in a forest, but there's no woman to tell him that he's wrong, is he still wrong?
No, he's a Roman.
Well, I did philosophy mostly because my ex-husband was having a bit of emotional trauma from his parents breaking up, and he kind of lagging with his assignments. So I decided that's it, So I did philosophy. And the first assignment, with no preparation whatsoever, because I was studying like journalism and other things, photography and filming, was you have to prove that you exist and then or prove that you don't exist and then prove you exist in philosophical terms. And I got an A for it, I really got this down pat, and he went into his exam and he failed. And I tried to explain the concept to him, but he didn't want to listen to me because I was a woman. And, this is the problem.
Well, sounds like you're dating the wrong man there, if that's his opinions.
No, he was
relationship.
Really, no, he was really wonderful. I'm just making a joke out of it. Like,
I'm only joking as well.
That we had teamwork and we got him through his studies, but I also got to learn about philosophy and all this. And philosophy is very important. Most of the people who were, okay, let's look at Da Vinci and Ptolemy and Plato and Socrates and all these people. They were into art and medical and philosophy and the stars and they were jack of all trades, whereas nowadays it's made to be like something derogatory. You've got too many interests,
Yeah, when at the end of the day, I try and look at the world first from the idea that the only thing that you could really know is that you look through your own eyes. Everything else is belief, everything else is faith, that person you can actually trust, or that table is actually made from wood, and that the ingredients of Coca-Cola won't do you any harm.
Well, maybe this is also like, I think some people can't be brainwashed, to be honest, and it might have something to do with being autistic or being Asperger's, on the spectrum. But, philosophy is very about like logic and powers of deduction and seeing like that doesn't make sense. That's illogical. So you can see when Labour's telling us lies and how the Tories were and all this, you can just sit back and go like, this is a load of pish, and other people can see it. They are totally fooled.
And that makes you think about Plato's cave a little bit as well. That one guy that got out of the cave where they were stuck in, and all they had decided was the gods, was shadows in the wall, and then the guy gets out and realizes it was reflections of objects from this entire world that was outside. And as a result, when he goes back in and stands up for saying that life isn't the way that it should be, and that this isn't true, they murdered him. And I think we need some sort of solution to that. Like the idea of sorry, like the idea of a Karen is the term. I wonder if that term came not sort of grassroots, but from above, in the way that if they keep increasing like the price of the train fare by like 10p every few months, if anyone was to actually pick, no, this is the 10 pence that I'll stand up and complain about, it seems like they would just be labelled a Karen or labelled insane for caring about such a thing. But it means that they can just slowly over time make us oppressed more and squeeze more out of us.
They try to humiliate people who think for themselves and have smear campaigns against people. And like Julian Assange got thrown in jail and literally tortured unimaginably. So I think that also goes for like when I lived on the Outer Hebrides, I was homeschooling my children, but I know at one of the 3 to 18-year-old model schools on the island, really expensive one, okay, and where they put one of the autistic kids in a cage at lunchtime to protect him from the other kids. But I think what it really was they couldn't be asked to watch him, and we found this outrageous. But the MP who come out there, or whatever, I think he was representative of the educational department, said, no, this is inclusive. And we were like, no, I was on the parent council and I was like, no, this is not inclusive. This is an infringement of his human rights. It's disgusting and you can't do this. And he was like, okay, we'll give him a little bit more room. We'll increase the enclosure. And I was like, no, you don't put him in enclosure.
Well, there you go. Inclusive and enclosure. They don't really go together, do they? The idea of a cage is to exclude entirely in its nature. There's no other way you can look at a cage.
This is the thing, because there was a mum and she had quite a few kids, okay? And obviously you're not a parent yourself, but she just couldn't take it anymore, and she just needed 5 minutes to herself. You know how it happens. And she climbed into the cot and the playpen, and she used it to keep herself safe from her children because she had a whole bunch of toddler children. So I suppose a cage could be used to keep yourself safe, you know.
I watched a Canadian, and he had a funny bit. He was talking about how in America, the immigrants, they were putting them in cages, and he said, "I think cages are a great idea. Every pub should have one, so there's no one to knock over the Jenga." You know.
Well, this is the thing, and
just joking.
Isn't it good if we can all talk about this, and we can actually get other people in on the show if there's people who are brave enough to come and talk about the unspeakable, you know, that we're not all crazy, and well, even if we are a little bit crazy, we embrace that craziness. You know, it's a gift. It's a superpower.
Wonderful. We were always near.
And we can talk about some things. And if people want to share their stories, I always felt like I just spent quite a few months in hospital being badly injured in my house and all this. And some people are like, no, you can't talk about it. Don't talk about it. Don't. And I'm like, no, I want to talk about it because what I noticed while I was there, and I've stayed, many of the girls there and even guys made friends with me. Long stay people in the hospital because you've all got the same issues, and you see many things. You come out of there with trauma from seeing how they treat, not their own fault because they're short-staffed, but just seeing no reflection on our system at all or the nurses at all, but just that like there's long waiting lists for dementia patients. So they're in the wards, and we, the patients, ended up looking after the dementia patients because we could see like this could be our mum or our granny, you know. And or our dad, and we don't want to see them like begging for attention, and no one's got attention to give them. And exactly. and just staying friends afterwards. And if you can use your experiences in life, like you studying philosophy and all this, but you would have your own experiences, and myself and other people. If you then grow out of that and you go and help people because you've got real empathy and knowledge of what happened. I feel a lot of the psychologists and psychiatrists, not that I've ever actually entertained one of them, but it's like they don't have the experience. They go study and they're out to make money, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I have medicine, and or you've got this and you've got this," but like they don't have a clue.
And then, just as you come from quite a sort of spiritual like background, getting someone to judge whether they're mentally healthy or mentally healthy enough to live independently by not having any recognition of some form of consciousness, science can't answer that, and that's exactly where psychiatry comes from. And they end up being limited to asking people their moods on a scale 1 to 10.
Oh, they do that. You know, I come straight out of a coma, right? And I had like 2 dents in my head from being battered in my house. And they like literally said to me, "Oh, you can't be alive because we switched off the machine, the life support machine. And you declared brain dead." And I was like, "I'm not brain dead. I'm awake. I don't know where I am or anything." And they wanted to. I said, "I just want to go home. Like, I don't know why I'm here, but I want to go home, and I can't understand why I can move, you know." And they were like, "We need to do an IQ test." And they proceeded to put me through days and days of IQ tests where I had to do the months backwards. December, November, October, blah, 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 blah. Now, apparently this is something that they're doing in the colony, but I never learned it as a child. So I just come out of this coma, and they're trying to make me do IQ tests in every manner. And I'm thinking, gee whiz. And then I saw them doing it to other people as well. And every day, "How are you?" "Well, I'm shite. Like, I'm in the hospital. I don't want to be here, you know." "Oh, well, you'll just have to stay here then."
Yeah. Well, that's really something you went through. I remember my dad, he did the Isle of Man TT, most dangerous road race in the world, and he hit a tree at over 130 miles per hour and ended up in a coma. And when he got out, he'd been diagnosed with brain shearing. So what he did was he got 3 books at the one time, and he would read a chapter of one, then a chapter of the other. So he had to keep remembering everything that was going on in the books. And it was cool. It worked really well for him and for his spine, which was in a really bad neck. Yeah.
But I mean, being in a coma is no small thing, and neither is a near-death experience or an actual death experience. And straight away,
did you hear anything in the coma or noticed what was going? Did you have any memories?
Oh, like so much, honestly. I think on previous occasions I've had a very adventurous life, and I've had horses falling on me, and of being held hostage, and had my skull fractured before. Like me, I've had near-death experiences before, and you get this whole thing where you're sort of going towards the light, and somebody's like, "Oh, it's not your time," or another time it was like, "Well, it's your choice whether you want to go back or not. But remember that your life may not go how you want it to. Are you still prepared to go back? Because you don't have to." And I was like, "Yeah, I want to go back. I've got kids and a husband, you know." And
Wow.
like for about 7 years ago, I found out exactly why they said that to me, because things went extremely pear-shaped and whatever. But this time it was totally different, you know. But many people have these experiences, but at no stage ever do they talk to you about it. It's just like, take your pills, and you're busy sleeping, and you've got post-traumatic stress now because of life in general, and they come put the blood pressure thing on you. And you wake up, you know, no common decency to say, "Hi, I'm nurse. Oh, it's your turn. I'm nurse psychedelic Mary, and I'm going to take your blood pressure, and it's going to hurt your arm like hell, you know. Just put it on you while you're sleeping." I know there was a blind woman. She come in. She was one of the patients, and they kept on doing things to her. So she was swearing at them. And I told them, "Do you realize this woman's blind?" And they were like, "How do you know?" So I said, "Powers of deduction. Put it on a, go find out if it's true, put it on a board." I said, "She's swearing at you, and you're calling the police to come and restrain her, but she's just blind. And
Shocking.
you need to find another way to do it, because she's sleeping and they just shove food in her mouth." It's nothing to do with the nurses. It's because there's contract things, and they never get to know the patient. They're just rushing in and out, and they don't have time.
And it seems at almost every level, people are living just by following procedured rules without any space for an exception from judging the nature of the individual situation that you're in. And if you don't have exceptions in your roles where it can be judged by the staff that you have, I mean,
Isn't this
I try not to use self checkouts, but I mean, I got ID'd to buy a can of Red Bull at 25 just because the nature was not being judged of what was in front of me. I even showed my bald spot and said I'm going grey at the sides as well. Is that not enough for you? So I was like, it might as well be replaced by a robot at that point, you know?
You have to have a sense of humor, because I remember I was getting to clubs from the age of 14, right? Never got asked for my ID. And then I think it was the day that I actually turned
Were you just
18 when
that
I took
cool
a couple
back
of
in the day they
pills,
thought they had to have you in?
and
So,
they asked me for my ID. And the other day, I think they delivered shopping to my door, and the guy said, "What's your date of birth?" And I said, "Why do you want to know?" He says, "You're buying goods that are age restriction." And I said, "Can you have a look at the wrinkles on my face? Like, do I have to tell you my birth date?" And he says, "No, you look really young." And I was like, "How much do I owe you for saying that?" It was the biggest compliment, just to have somebody like say you have to prove that your age, you know. So
yeah.
it depends what age you are as to whether it comes across bad or not. But isn't it like, yeah, like society's got all these systems in place. It's almost like, you know, you get those flow charts, blah blah blah, yes or no. If no,
Yes.
then these two options. And it doesn't actually, for emotional wellness and body, mind, spirit, and what they call mental health, it doesn't actually hit the problem. It doesn't find a solution. It just makes people
It's
feel
more like a
more
flow chart that
marginalized.
just goes different boxes along the way, straight, linearly.
I
Yeah.
know I had them call me today telling me, "Oh, they're going to send somebody around to give me a bath." And I was like, "You know what? For 7 months, I was attached to a machine, you know, life support machine. And I couldn't do anything. And you left me all this time. So now I'm actually up and walking and doing stuff. And you want to send someone to come here, give me a bath? Better make sure they're bloody good looking."
Beat me to the joke there.
So, yeah, there's just, the system goes really slowly, don't you find as well? It's like, and we're not criticizing people at all. It's the colonial system. Remember, though, even though certain things are devolved, it's still colonial. It's very colonial. So it's
It's the
like,
fear that's
"Oh,
put
well,
in them to stand out with an idea to say, hang on, this judging the nature of how this feels, it feels like we're doing it the wrong ways.
it's like we need to speak to you." So they ask you a whole bunch of questions, and you don't even get to say anything really, right? And then they're like, "Oh, we'll see you in 3 weeks' time." And you're like, excuse me, you just like, you can't do that in 3 weeks' time. I'm barely getting through hour to hour. You want 3 weeks' time?
I'll tell you one of the little stories. The guy told me it was such conviction, and I don't know how I feel about it. That he grew up in an orphanage, and he kept seeing hooded-like figures about the orphanage, and they tried different medication and different therapies and combinations of the both to try and stop him from seeing these. And then about 15 years later, he got contacted by one of the guys that worked there, saying that it used to be a monastery for like 50 years before, and he was seeing all these hooded like monk figures of it. The way he told me, he was so passionate about it the last time I seen him.
And he got medicated for that.
Yeah, and therapy, and they tried every way they could for years, trying to get him to stop seeing them, you know.
Well, this is really interesting, Lewis, and well done for telling that story, because the thing is, you know, as a Scottish nation, we're a very magical people. And we've been like gaslighted to believe that this is all just myth and legend and all this and meaningless. But the thing is, you know, we had healers, we had seers, we had different people. People have got skills. I don't know if you've heard of the 4 clairs, but you get clairaudient, clairsentient, clairvoyant, something other. So some people have got like slight gifts of telepathy or empathy or hearing sounds, or some people can see ghosts and spirits, you know. Even cats can do that, and dogs, they'll go look at the window and start barking and there's nothing there, you know. And then you found out from the previous owners your house is haunted, you know.
Either that or the dogs are preparing for the TV license man to come around, you know.
He's creeping around your house like a whatever. So the people have got like different kind of I like to call them gifts. So it's so complicated, and just to medicate people is not enough, you know. And when we've got people mostly actually from England selling drugs in Scotland and then blaming Scots for being drug addicted. I think I was telling you earlier on, I'm addicted to the sun. So the show was late today because I decided to nip out between 2 interviews and catch some sun, because it's got vitamin D in and it's good for serotonin. And I love the sun, so I'm addicted to the sun. I'm addicted to tobacco.
I've actually got a song about the sun. It's called Sun God, about when I was 15 and I asked my dad if he believed in God, and he told me he believed in the sun god because it rose every day and gave us all the energy and set at night, and you could rely on that. And maybe see if we can get on it at some point.
Yeah, we'll do that. But I think, Lewis, are you interested in chatting about this, like maybe on a weekly basis, and we just have an emotional wellness show?
Yeah, it seemed like the conversation flowed
So
in a way that there's many things we could discuss.
I'm going to play a song now, if you don't mind, because I'm dying for a fag. So that's my excuse.
Me too.
And you can do whatever you need to do. And won't be long, so don't disappear. And then we'll talk about some coping mechanisms, maybe things that helped you or helped me and whatever.
Great.
Okay, so let's see what song we have. It's mostly from Sounds of Freedom Radio. So it's independent songs. But listen, get some of your songs or videos and we'll play them as well, because Lewis is a musician, people. And so let's just see which one we can do. Follow the Wild Geese Home. I'm going to put that one on and then we'll be back. Lewis, just check that your mic mutes when we do this, because I'm doing it from background music, and I'm going to put up an image, take us off the screen. So when you come back on, you need to put your mic on, okay?
Got you.
So you've got about 3 minutes, okay? On your marks, get set, go.
At the end of the day, does your heart fly to the lochs or the glens or the islands? Do you dream of the Clyde or a small border town? Do the pipes make you shiver and want to see your mother? It's been too long since you've been gone, too long since you've been home to the place that's forever in your heart. and walked your father's steps again in the soft Scottish rain. Follow the wild geese home. From the wilderness of Torridon to Australia's New South Wales, from the Black Isle to Nova Scotia, from Fife to Dubai, New York from a Crofton sky, and you beginning with our forced of following dreams. In San Francisco Bay, do you dream of the Tay, and long to walk down Princess Street once more? At night on your rig are your thoughts of Stirling Brig. Follow the wild geese home. At the end of the day, does your heart fly to the lochs or the glens or the islands? Do you dream of the Clyde or a small border town? Do the pipes make you shiver and want to see your mother? It's been too long since you've been gone, too long since you've been home, to the place that's forever in your heart, and walked your father's steps again in the soft Scottish rain, and follow the wild geese home. Where your forefathers' families cleared from the land and sent in exile to the new world, did they give that foreign place a loved familiar name of a home they would never see again? Or did you sail on the tide seeking fortune on a ship that you'd built years before? Did you make that last trip to the graveyard to say your final farewell to these shores? At the end of the day, does your heart fly to the lochs or the glens or the islands? Do you dream of the Clyde or a small border town? Do the pipes make you shiver and want to see your mother? It's been too long since you've been gone, too long since you've been home, to the place that's forever in your heart, and walked your father's steps again in the soft Scottish rain, and follow the wild geese home. Forever.
Okay, that's us back, and just want to say that was Ted Christopher, Follow the Wild Geese Home. And if you want to listen to Sounds of Freedom Radio, there's a Facebook page, and the streamer is pinned to the top of the page. You can make it into an app. Once you go into the browser, you right-click on the three dots, and you can put the app on your phone, on your PC, your Mac, your laptop, or you can put it on your Fire Stick through Amazon Silk, and you can listen to Sounds of Freedom Radio. So it's motivating and brilliant, and we hope to get more people on there. At the moment, we've got a lot of artists, and we've got more than 1,000 songs, I think, on there. So, Lewis, tell me, I've got a challenge for everybody who's watching, and there's 63 people. In this next week, challenge for everybody. Try to admit your addictions, and it can be silly little things like coffee or your bath or whatever, water. We're all addicted to water, and also try to isolate what is your toxic trait. So my toxic trait, one of my toxic traits is I'm too forgiving and I'm too gullible. I trust people too easily, and I will literally sabotage myself trying to be nice to other people because I feel like they've had a hard time, and I won't realize they're actually using nasty people. So there's my challenge to you. What's your toxic trait and what's your addictions?
I like that. I like the sound of listing addictions that can be positive as well as negative.
So
It
think
sounds
of
like
one and
a
one
lot more
toxic
balanced
trait.
way to do it. Yeah. Well, how about one positive addiction, one negative one?
Okay.
That sounds good. In terms of techniques, I'd like to know more about how you got into sort of shamanic practices.
Yeah. It
Could you tell
happened
me a
by
bit more?
accident, actually. It was really interesting. When I was in my 20s, we lived on a farm, obviously our own farm, and we actually ended up accidentally living off the grid for a few years with no water, no electricity, and all the stuff. Was really fun. And one of my employees was a guy come to the gate and said, like, I'm starving. I've got nowhere to stay. And I said to him, well, you know what, if you want, you can come and stay on the farm. It's not wonderful, but there's a room available, and if that's going to help you, and here's some food, and this is what we do. We grow our own food, and we've got animals, so I can teach you. So I taught him how to ride horses and not be an employee. He was treated as a friend. And it turned out that his grandfather was the king of Venda, right? And he was having a lot of bad luck in his life himself, and he'd left his homeland. Venda was basically a country within South Africa. There's many countries, Botswana, Transkei, Swaziland, and all this. So his destiny, he said, his ancestors were angry with him, and his destiny was to become a sangoma, which is basically an African shaman. And we started chatting about this, and I was so interested about where he lived and all this. So he took me to meet his grandfather, who was the king of Venda. And we ended up studying to be sangomas together. So they called me White Woman Sangoma. And Malungu means ghost. So we are called ghosts because our skin is white and all this. But it was a wonderful. I gave it to him as a challenge. I said, I'll study to be a sangoma if you follow your ancestors' path for you. Because if we follow our destiny and our fates and our path of our ancestors, then we're doing something good and things will go good in our lives. So we both did this. And then later in my life, I think there was one of our animals went missing, and I was desperately looking for this animal. And I've got certain gifts or whatever, but I was getting these like kind of visions of like this running through the bushes, and I realized it's the cat, but this cat was injured, and I couldn't get out of the cat's body. I'd actually gone into the cat's body, like whatever, my spirit, and it scared me to hell, and I was terrified. And eventually I got out of it, and I was really shocked. Like I knew the cat was injured and it's running in the bushes somewhere, but and I got contacted by this Cherokee shaman, and he said, you've just had experience, and I'm here to train you. And I said, how do you know? And he says, we know. It's like we have a way of knowing. He was in America, Cherokee shaman, and at first I thought it was a lot of fish. I was really quizzing him about this. Like this.
It would only be rational to start from that standpoint, eh?
Somebody's playing a joke on me, and he said, no, you've got a gift, and it's something that you need to be trained in, because if you don't become trained in it and use it for good, you can become what we call a skinwalker, which is somebody who possesses other people's bodies and stuff, And so I trained as Cherokee with a Cherokee shaman and become a Cherokee shaman over the next 7 years. And he told me, your path is going to mean that you have to walk alone, and your partner is not ready to go on this journey with you. They're at a different level. Are you prepared to fulfill your task? It's part of your destiny. And I said yes, and I didn't realize how hard it was going to be, and it was really pish. But then after that, I studied Celtic shamanism, and then I studied Viking shamanism. So what's that? 1, 2, 3, 4 different kinds of shamanism. And that's more than 30 years. And then I also when I was really young, like in my end of my teens, I became a Reiki master. So I studied like crystal healing and sound therapy, art therapy, color therapy, all sorts of things. So that's my path, was to become a healer. And you have to have experienced these things yourself before you can help other people. So my life has been really kind of, what you could say, weird. And I've experienced many horrible things, tragic things. But because of that and suffering grief and having to live through many, many unbearable things, it gave me a kind of, I always was empathic, but it gave me more than that, because I can actually help people because I've experienced it myself. So let's go to coping mechanisms. How did you get involved in philosophy?
Well, it partially started from a book that I read about an English anthropologist going to shamanic cultures and studying them.
Who was this man? I'm assuming it's a
I
man.
can't remember. I think it's Jeremy something. The book was called Cosmic Serpent. And
Cosmic Serpent.
And when you get certain shamanic cultures from different parts of the world to describe what God is, they describe it as being two snakes that are intertwined and a bridge in the middle.
Well, isn't that the thing of the medical staff with the two serpents?
Yeah, it looks the same as a DNA double helix, and they say it's present in all of life, and that's what God is, which really struck me. But then also the woman that came up with the concept of the DNA double helix was from a psychedelic trip that she took as well. That was her major inspiration. So that kind of drove me down the route of trying to connect spirituality to science in a way. And I suppose one technique that I've been using to help people sort of get their sort of first footing in meditation, I suppose I call it the whistling wind technique, where to sort of imagine, if they can look at sort of natural scenery, that's the best way to do it. But basically, how meditation is either produce a sensation or you acknowledge one and you try and remember it, to take a big deep breath in, and then when you exhale, make an amusing sound of whistling wind to oneself. But if you're feeling particularly worked up or your emotions are heavy, to make it sound more kind of amplified and powerful, and then slowly over time bring it down to that of a kind of calm way.
So it's basically grounding yourself really and using your senses, because we're so out of touch with our senses.
Mm-hmm. People are so scared to play in case they look like they feel silly, you know. I've heard of people, psychiatrists, suggesting to them, go on walks in nature. But if you've never done that, or you haven't done it for a long time, you might feel more silly at each step. But the advice I give on top of that one is to take photos, and no one's allowed to see those pictures. But at the end of it, review whether you think they're better than the week before. And it forces you to be present and try and look at how you can make the world around you in more kind of peaceful ways and its qualities.
Oh, isn't it also helps you with your view of life? Because you can have two people or a group of people that experience the same situation, and yet every one of them will remember it differently. One of them may have loved the experience, another may hate it. Another might have said, I was so cold. Another one might have said, like, I felt scared. You know, like everybody experiences everything differently. So when you become present, you are actually becoming in touch with all your senses. And when you go for a walk in nature, you should actually, and they don't tell you this, breathing, because if we don't have oxygen, and when you're stressed, you breathe very shallow and you tend to hunch over. So getting air in your lungs, breathing, which is part of most shamanic practices, including like, you know, gurus from India and all of this breathing, being looking around, seeing different colors, the sky, you know, like being aware of touch. And that's even the wind on your skin is touch, you know, smells, taste. So if somebody's having a really bad panic attack, you can actually help them, or they can help themselves by having a drink of something like maybe orange juice, apple juice, something natural, water, you know, picking up something that's got a different texture, you know, some kind of material, having colors around your house, wearing colors that you actually like, because your body will naturally choose colors or healing. You know, what's the other one? Hearing, put on something that's a nice sound, or bells or chimes, and going through all your senses. And remember, we've got a sixth sense as well, which is our intuition that links us to the spiritual world. And that's how you ground yourself.
And I also like to look at that intuition sense as the one that balances them out. Is we're always multitasking. If you're walking and talking at the same time you're doing it, it's not just women, And the intuition is to know which one to focus on at any time. I would say that's part of the senses role.
Isn't it also that very often, because of how we are brought up, that everything is kind of, I don't know how to say it, poo-pooed, like it's silly to follow your intuition. Whereas
Yes.
when we don't follow our intuition, and it's actually a gift, it's part of our existence as human beings, that things go wrong in your life when you don't follow your intuition. So, like, if you're walking, just say you're getting your exercise is also a coping mechanism. You're going for a walk and you think, why would you always walk in the same way? How can you experience something new if you're always going the same way? So you think, I'm going to go up that road today.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you always taught don't speak to strangers, which in some states that might be wise, but it's really nice to just like see. I think the other day, it was last week, Friday, I was going to the shop to buy some Becky, and there was a woman walking down the street and she only had one shoe on. And I said to her, are you okay? And after a series of questions and her not responding and not noticing that she did only one shoe on, I determined she's got advanced dementia. So she didn't want to correspond with me, in a verbal sense or anything. She was in another world, you could literally go like this. She was totally. So I went to the shop, come back, couldn't find her. And then eventually I found her bus pass lying on the ground, thought it's a sign because it was outside my house that I should look for her. Found her in the next street, standing in the middle of the street, and helped her. So if I didn't speak to strangers, then I would have just ignored her. And so many people walked by her and didn't care.
Yeah, for sure.
And isn't that what we are actually brought up, not to care about other people?
And that your family and the bloodline is all that matters to an extent. But I don't really want the idea of being like the royals, Just doesn't appeal to me much. I remember once I bought a big tub of muffins, and I ate about two and realised I really didn't want the rest. So on my way home, I decided to walk and just hand out muffins to strangers along the way. And some people were very scared to engage with you, or
people are scared, isn't it? There's so much fear around from every side. People are afraid.
For some people, they were so unexpected at just such a little random act of kindness that really brightened up their day, and it was quite funny. Really, I was just going, "Excuse me, would you like a muffin?"
Isn't it like that? And like people, you always taught don't take sweeties from strangers, obviously, because there's pedos around and they're going to kidnap you, and tremendous amount of people do go missing and all this. But when you're trying to be nice to people, it's sometimes that they are so fearful.
Mm-hmm.
I think when I was a teenager, I saw something somewhere, and some guy was standing with a sign saying free hugs. And everybody was walking past like, oh, that's really odd, can't do that and what. But some people like eventually went and gave them a hug. And then sooner or later, like within half an hour, everybody was hugging each other and laughing and smiling. And we are creatures that are not meant to be alone. And why can't you just hug strangers,
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
especially my generation, it's reported from studies that a third of people, Gen Z men, don't consider themselves to have one close friend at all, which is quite a shocking statistic, that one, isn't it?
It is. And I think with all these, like you're saying, AI boyfriends and girlfriends, it's like these AI boyfriends and girlfriends are so nice to people and write them poems, and they come up with this unrealistic expectation of life, and then they become more isolated,
Mm-hmm.
So it's learning coping mechanisms like balance. So what do you think is other coping mechanisms for, like, let's take depression, for example? How do you lift yourself out of feeling depressed? Because this is normal. We are normally depressed for a reason, and you've got to look at the cause. So isn't it like getting yourself out of that situation, either temporarily or permanently? So that solves the problem rather than taking tablets that make you feel like unaliving yourself.
Yeah, I think, well, what feels to me is left out of the solution to depression the most is the idea of fulfillment. For people that are not majorly depressed, but are starting to experience it's getting worse, I think volunteering's a great option for them to find.
Yeah, because it gets you out the house, because your life isn't going to change if you don't get out the house. You're never going to meet anyone.
At least then at the end of the day, even if you feel a bit
You can
down,
sit there in
you
your house
feel
and
better
think,
that
I'm
you
so
did
bloody
so.
lonely. And if you don't get out the door and engage yourself. So volunteering in not just volunteering, but volunteering in a field where you have a natural talent. Using your natural talent is a way people feel depressed because they don't get to use their natural talents. I mean,
Or
how many
sometimes
people
if they're following their interest in the art, I might just tell them that they don't know what would be best suited to them. So the only way to logically go from there would be to go out in the world and experience new things. Because at least if you try something and you don't like it, you've learned that wasn't for you. You've kind of partially answered that question that people seem to think about so much about finding oneself. How else would
exactly
you do
finding
it unless
yourself.
you were to engage in collecting information?
How do you find yourself? You follow your intuition. You actually do use your talents that you have, because how many people come out of school and they're really good at arts or music and they get told by everybody, okay, no, you can't do that. Go find yourself a proper job. And they're like, I want to do this. And well, as illogical as it might be and risky and whatever the case is, it's like going to make you feel really sad if you don't follow what you want to do, because you've got to drive for it. I remember when I was I don't know, from very young age, my dad got me, I think my granddad died, and he got me a camera, like a really nice SLR camera. And I wanted to be a journalist, and a filmmaker and an artist and a horse breeder and everything, but that's because I'm autistic. I wanted to do everything, and I was told, no, you need to be sensible. And I started working in a job in an insurance company, and it was pish. And at the end of the day, what I've done is I went out and I become a horse breeder, and then I started, I got my original studies myself in journalism and all sorts of things, and I did it part-time as well as working, and I was a journalist and an artist and everything that I wanted to do. And it's crazy, but it's because I'm autistic. And I'm a
Sounds like
woman.
you're passionate.
At the same time, because I'm a woman.
I was definitely bad for that growing up, just trying a hobby, and then 2 weeks later I fell to the next one and lost interest in it. But at the time, I'd kind of beat myself up for it to a degree. I think that I
You
just
think people think they pay you?
wasn't learning the willpower to stick in at something. But I'm so glad that I tried all those different things. For at the very least, it makes it easier if you're at the pub when you're trying to find ways to relate to someone in a conversation. I tried fencing for 2 weeks.
It's a nice thing, and also like having a little bit of knowledge about everything means you can join in conversations. And some people I find have told me like, oh, you think you know everything? And I'm like, no, I actually know that I don't know everything. I'm just trying to participate, because as a child and an young adult, I didn't actually engage with other people. I was all about only breeding horses, and I didn't really know how people are. I don't understand people. I'm autistic. And I'm not trying to pretend anything. I'm just trying to do my best to do something I really don't know how to do, and that's talking to people.
It was a big jump when I started my job as a support practitioner, because I hadn't had a job at all before then. I was just studying in the uni, and then all of a sudden you're helping a man in his late 60s to tidy his house and get his dishes together. And you really had to learn quickly how to be able to manage to talk to people of all different backgrounds,
Exactly.
religions and cultures, and having that skill behind you, it feels great, But if you just spend all your time in your little bubble indoors, you might never be able to find the joy that can be found when you're able
Well, that's
to.
the thing. People get stuck in a career, and it's like you have to do that, and it's really difficult to change. Even we get like free education in Scotland, but you are restricted to one career. You can make one career change, but that's it. So like people get stuck in jobs like I find generally Scottish people don't get the opportunity even in their own country to get the big jobs, even though they've got the qualifications. So they end up being cleaners and carers and ambulance drivers and truck drivers, all the low level jobs. and they end up working really hard hours, and they feel unfulfilled. And then it's like you've got a medical condition. Meanwhile, all
my
the
friend drives ambulances and she absolutely loves putting on that big light and just getting to storm down the roads. It's her favourite thing
so
about the
you've got
whole
to do
job.
something that you love. And I mean, like, I'm a volunteer now, and I love what I do because it's something I always wanted to do, and I've got qualifications in it, like multiple qualifications. So I love what I do.
Great.
You know.
I like Hashbury Stumble's comment there. Better to know a little about a lot than a lot about a little.
Yeah, but take to ridicule people. I was ignoring the comments. Well done there. Okay, let's put some of them up. Okay. So that's Hashbury Stumble. Better to know a little about a lot than a lot about a little. Exactly. And then somebody says, it's our Lewis there. There's our Lewis there. Do you know that person? Chris
No,
Allen.
I don't. Maybe
Okay.
it'd be embarrassing if I said that I didn't.
So somebody says, don't let it bring you down. Only castles burning. Find someone who's turning, and you will come around. Song lyrics. Song lyrics are awesome, aren't they? And then Ashbury Stumble also says, strangers meeting strangers, just shake their hand. And he also says, or she, I don't know who it is, he or she. Ashbury, you have to tell us if you're she or he, not that it matters. Each moment is different than any before it. Each moment is different. It's now. The incredible string band. And I'm going to let Lewis read this one out.
The sky was yellow and the sun was blue.
Imagine
That's all
that.
the best days are.
I remember that reminds me about something at school. We had to draw in primary school, like really early grades of primary school, something in art, draw a picture. So I made the whole page yellow. And my teacher said, what is this piece of pish? And I was like, it's the sun. And
It's
she was,
my
no,
pish, that's why it's yellow.
You draw the sun like this. And I was like, no, but the sun's really big. You don't understand, you know? And because my mom also taught me loads of things. And I said, it's much bigger. You just draw it like you're told, you know? And it didn't feel right to me, you know? And I'm like, no, but aren't we allowed to do what we want to? No, you do what you're told, you know? And it kind of breaks something inside you because you're not allowed to be who you want to be.
I love the colour yellow. It's my favourite colour. One of the ways I try, or techniques for my mental health and well-being, is to paint my bedrooms yellow because you just feel happy when you wake up. And sometimes people have said to me, oh, that would make me feel sick, I'd get a headache. If you dim the lights enough, eventually it goes black. You know?
Well, let's talk about colours because colour is, I do colour therapy, okay? Each colour has got a different wavelength, okay, a frequency. And the same works for crystals. The different color crystals have got different uses. So you can actually, everybody's different, you know. So in your personality and your persona and your energy, you might need the yellow color. And I can't remember exactly how the yellow, but you know, each one will be like a certain wavelength, might be wider or higher or whatever. So for somebody else, they might like a certain color, but it's really important in your houses and that go and paint your different rooms how you want to. Don't sit with some pish that you got from the charity shop or your auntie's auntie gave
Those
it to you
houses
for.
where they just make them all eggshell, you know.
Oh, I can't stand that. It does my nuts in. I'm a very colorful person. So go and get yourself colors that you want. Your clothes. You don't have to wear a color if you don't want to wear it. So go through your cupboard. You probably got too many clothes and just do what you want to do. Eat what you want to eat. Drink what you want to drink within reason, okay? Don't quote me. But that's the path to happiness. What do you think?
It sounds right to me. Someone once told me your favourite colour is how you see yourself and feel inside. Your favourite food is how you see the world around you and how you want to be perceived as. And your favourite animal is how you intertwine with other humans. And it sounds just like a silly little game, but when I've applied that to people and discussed it with them, even if the answers are incorrect, having a thought about that yourself, you can learn more about yourself. As if you were to imagine what kind of person you would hate to sit next to the most. You know what I mean?
Well, isn't it like, so what is your favorite color? Is it yellow or is that
It's
just the color?
yellow. Yellow is just positivity and
So why are
happiness.
you not wearing yellow?
Because I don't spend enough money on clothes. I'll
Go
try and
get
have a yellow
yourself
t-shirt for
something
next show.
yellow. I'll paint you a picture if you want, and I'll just make it yellow.
Go for it.
So
Make it pish.
one of my colors that I like, and I could never ever say I like one color because I like loads of colors, but I like a kind
But
of.
gun to your head, you've got 10 seconds, you'd say something. You'd
Yeah,
say
are you
one.
threatening me with violence?
It's a useful one, that though.
Blue used to be my favorite color, right? And there was a bully at my school, and she asked me what my favorite color, and I said blue, and then she says, "That's because you're cold and unemotional." So I stopped wearing blue. But blue's got many shades, every color's got many shades. And then I moved to purple, and somebody told me purple is a sign of somebody who's something or other, And everybody's like analyzing everyone else. And why don't we just stop doing that, Whether it's how you dress or what music you listen to or anything, stop judging each other. Let's humanize each other. The colonial system is to dehumanize each other. Let's stop doing that and stop doing it to yourselves.
Well, I like to analyze these qualities, like how someone dresses. It's things that we can gather more information about ourselves in a way that can be fun and playful in nature.
Okay, so how are you going to analyze what I'm wearing? Because you don't even know what I'm wearing.
I suppose. Well, yeah, you should be wearing yellow next session as well, and we'll have a
I was
yellow.
in the sun, so I'm wearing like a kind of bikini top. So that just means I'm a sun worshiper.
You look like someone that enjoys relaxing and knows how to do it right.
So you're wearing a grey shirt, and I'm going to say that.
I'm wearing a grey shirt that says "good for nothing" on it.
Well, maybe that's how people are making you feel. Did you buy that shirt for yourself?
I have no clue. I think it just appeared in my wardrobe one day. I took it from there, but it's nice and
Well,
it's nice and baggy for this warm weather. So that's
I
fine.
hereby give you permission to give yourself permission to get a permanent marker and cross out the nothing and say good for everything. And put a big yellow splodge on it, like a splat,
Right, that's a good idea. I'll see if I can put some time aside.
So we all have the power to change our situation. And if you're feeling sad or any other problem that you have, think about it for next week. We'll see you in 3 weeks' time for your next tablets. No, just try to think about yourself, get to know yourself, get a little journal. I find journaling is very helpful. It's a little journal of discovery. So just put there my favorite color, things that we talked about in the show today. Get to know yourself because we don't even know ourselves, do we, Lewis?
Well, I don't think we can ever complete that goal of knowing oneself, and I wouldn't want to ever. Someone asked me if I knew myself, and I said I wouldn't ever want to truly know myself because the mystery of what we can learn, I think, is one of the great joys in life. But everyone, remember, you've got to come at one addiction that's positive that you have, and one that's negative, if you can.
There's a song for you, Lewis. They call me Mellow Yellow.
I'll give it a listen.
Esprit stumbles at it today. Purple haze all in my brain. Jimi Hendrix. I think, isn't purple haze a kind of weed?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Don't ask me how I know that. And then there's another one that says, gotta go. Thanks for the blether. So let's talk about coping mechanisms. Maybe everybody can, who's listening, if you want to join in, let's make us a well nation that's ready for our independence and taking back our country from the colonizer. Stop putting yourself in categories. Stop putting other people in categories. Let's find out where our actual, how do we get to the stage? If you're happy or you're not happy, there's a cause, and you can't deal with it all in a one. But just start learning to know yourself. What do you like? What you don't like? And don't only think about what you don't like, because if you give somebody a page and you say, write the things you don't like and the things you do like, it's really hard to write the things you do like. Especially if you're feeling a bit depressed, it's really hard. I normally start off with something like strawberries, and then I go strawberries and cream, and then I'm like yogurt, hummus, pizza, and then I'm at it. You can see I'm a foodaholic. But find your happy things. What do you think, Lewis?
Yeah, sounds like a good idea. I've just started doing a bit of journaling the last week, actually. I've never given it a go before, but I felt a bit called to.
It's nice.
At the very least, I said there was only positives that could come out of engaging.
And you can journal on the page. You can doodle, and you can make your page all colorful, kind of watercolory, and then write over it. I mean, if you look at journaling, or even on a browser, what are they called, Google or whatever, you can search for journaling ideas, and you can get really creative, and that's part of our existence. Even most people tell me, "Oh, but I can't draw," and I'm like, "But you can. You just told that." Everything that you do is art. Everything that's around you is art. You're
creating a moment every moment that you're present in, aren't you?
And the minute that you stop living inside your head, and that's the purpose of also going on a journey or a day trip or something, is you come back and you think, I could have sat in my house the whole day and felt miserable, and now I've seen loads of things. I feel a bit inspired. I saw somebody threw out a chair, and I want to take that chair and paint it yellow and put it in my bedroom. Get out there and do stuff. And if you see someone looking sad, very often helping others helps yourself, isn't it?
For sure. And you can pick up ways to help yourself better from trying out ones with others as well.
Yeah. Anyway, Lewis, are you tired now and you're ready to go for a nap?
I'd say so. A wee siesta.
Yeah. So I just want to say thank you so much for coming on the show, and being on the show. And musician stuff. Do you want to talk about that next time, or do you want to have a quick run through it? Or shall we get you
I think maybe call it for today and next week.
So we'll get your song ready for next time. And nothing's predictable. Here we are intuitive, and we decide when we're going to do things. When we do them, we don't plan them in advance, but doesn't mean everyone has to be like that. It just makes us happy.
Well, sometimes you can intuitively buy tickets for something that's in the future. So you've made a plan, but you chose to follow your heart when it called you to do so. So there's your way around it, because future planning is needed sometimes, for sure.
Well, it's balance. So sometimes you plan, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you go out without your jumper. Sometimes you take your jacket and you're too hot. It's like you can't predict everything, but live. Life is for living. Don't
That's
just do
my
what
favourite
you're
song,
told to
actually.
do.
It's called Life for Living by Passenger. I would highly recommend that to our viewers.
Enjoy life. And when you remember your day, and that's something about journaling, like in the beginning of the day, you put down your to-do list and what you want to do for that day, and you're living hour by hour, basically. Lots of people day by day. We can't live longer than that because it's too stressful. We're getting panic attacks. So at the end of the day, don't write down any of the bad things, okay? Or put it on a piece of paper, crumple it up, and put it away so you can sleep peacefully, and write down, just even if it's one nice thing that happened to you the whole day. Let's make Scotland great again. You know how Donald Trump says that, Pish?
Build back better. It does sound good, that one, doesn't it? Build back
it's yours. You've got to say it. Go on, say, let's make Scotland great again.
Let's make Scotland great again.
Lewis, thank you very much. And you, Chug, and you're wonderful. And behave yourself. Don't talk to strangers. Huh?
Yeah,
so I'm going to
accept their muffins.
Yeah. I want one of those muffins, by the way. Handing them out to everyone and not giving me one. What a lot of...
Oh, that's right. I would have eaten them all by the time I got to Edinburgh. Sorry.
So I'm going to play a song, and then we'll end the show. I'm going to play something about I Can Hear the Nation. It's Graham Brown's song. It's really hard to find this. Watch Us Rise. I'm going to play Watch Us Rise. And Lewis, thank you very much. Big hug, and big hug to your family.
Thanks for having me. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Union man said that we can't have a nation to hold. Union man said that we can't have our own pot of gold.
Union man said that you'll starve if you're old. Union man said we can't have a nation to hold. Union man said you'll be out in the cold and the dark. Union man said that your land has no heart. Union man said that it's all in the past. Union man, step aside, you had your chance. And watch us rise into the sky. See the passion for freedom in our eyes. We were lost in the lies. Scotland calls, so watch us rise. Labour and Tory men tell us that we are too weak, as they celebrate victories won by the man on TV. Too many questions and too many answers, you see. Cheap points, fear stories and lies by the BBC. I can see the road ahead, we're so close. We've travelled so far, and this time everyone knows. We must say thanks to the ones who fought for this land. Freedom for me and you, and Alex the man. So watch us rise into the sky. See the passion for freedom in our eyes. We were lost in the lies. Scotland calls, so watch us rise. Stand in the square, show us you care, fly your flags. And if you're a no voter, join us, you won't be the last. Forget the old days, we won't bow down to the man. Scotland's nation will rise by the work of our hands. Scotland's nation will rise by the work of our hands. So watch us rise into the sky. See the passion for freedom in our eyes. We were lost in the lies. Scotland calls, so watch us rise. Oh, Scotland calls, so watch us rise.
You're listening to Sounds of Freedom, the only station playing Scottish independence music 24/7.
Every revolution needs a soundtrack. Find yours on Sounds of Freedom Radio.
Do you condemn the oppressed? The oppressor wants to know. Would you block the tyrant's path, or step aside and let him go? Are you the shrinking violet, or the one who steals the show? Or are you just too busy? 20 years for throwing stones. Do you ask what's that about? Will you stand up and fight for justice when injustice has taken control? Or are you just too busy? Will you stand up for mothers, for children who are slaughtered by the bomb? Or will you excuse the bomber when they tell you they were wronged? Will you shelter the leper, or will you join the stoning throng? Or are you just too busy? Tortured land is empty and no one walks beneath its sky. Will you pursue the killers or let sleeping dogs lie? Will you stand up and be counted when they turn their guns on you? Or are you just too busy? This was all done for resources, the corporate sleight of hand. Millions killed and displaced for the gas beneath their land. Will you raise your voice for peace, for justice, for Julian Assange? Or are you just too busy? Or are you just too busy? Or are you just too busy?
What you wanting?
Some music.
We'll get your cell over to Sounds of Freedom Radio.
Till the stars fall out the sky. There is no if, there is no why. You can't change me, don't even try. I am I, till the day I die. You told stories, you broke the rules, you spread your lies through the mouths of fools. For truth and justice, you pledged to stand, but I see blood dripping from your hands. Till the stars fall out the sky. There is no if, there is no why. You can't change me, don't even try. I am I, till the day I die. You built your empire on a bed of sand. Watch it crumble as we take command. Your class system has been stripped away. Super Rupert will have to earn his pay. stars fall out the sky. There is no F, there is no Y. And you can't change me, don't even try. I am I, till the day I die. And you can't change me, don't even try. I am I, till the day I die. I am I, till the day I die.
Gaze through the eyes of a legend, like Wallace or Bruce, and you'll see they have stolen our country's potential. Our beautiful land should be free, but we'll take no more of it. We're making sure of it. Come, sing along with me. We are patriots, one and all. You can tell by the roar when we answer the call. We are patriots, one and all. We're fighting for Scotland and freedom for all. Stand in the fields of Culloden or Bannockburn. Close your eyes. Feel the resurgence within you from your countrymen who have died. But they'll take no more away. Stand up and have your say. Come and stand